Today I'm going to show you how to make this lentil loaf. Lentil loaf is a vegetarian or vegan dish that serves as an alternative to traditional meatloaf. It typically consists of cooked lentils along with other ingredients such as vegetables, grains, herbs, and spices, all mixed together and baked into a loaf shape. Alright, so the first step is we need to caramelize our brown sugar. So we have the pot over high heat and we're just going to add in our sugar and let it melt and begin to caramelize. So as you see around the edges here, sugar is starting to melt. So to prevent your sugar from burning and becoming bitter and to allow for even caramelization, you want to take your spoon or your spatula and stir to mix up your sugar. This will help to evenly dissolve it and give you a much more even caramelized end product. What we're looking for is we aiming our sugar to dissolve, begin to caramelize, and begin to foam up, as you see in here. So it sort of foam up like that and almost turn into a dark golden brown color as our sign, but all isn't doing that, so you wanna, that's your cue to mix again for even caramelization. Alright, so you see how we're getting foam all the way around, seeing those bubbles forming. That's the cue to add our peas. Gonna give it a little mix. Now this piece here is at room temperature, so it really should not recrystallize the sugar. But I'm sure, you know, sometimes you're trying to stew meat and you add cold chicken or cold seasoned chicken and you find like the sugar get back hard, is because you've changed the temperature in your pot. So the sugar, when cooled, recrystallizes, but that's not a big issue. If that were to happen, you could just cover your pot and just let it come back up in temperature and allow the sugar to melt once again. Right, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna cover the pot and I'm gonna raise the heat back up to high and we're gonna let our peas braise, if you will. We wanna let the peas release its own moisture, absorb the caramelized sugar, and just let both ingredients marry and come together before we move on to the next step. This should take about 5 minutes. Alright, so time to check our peas. Just give it a turn. So you see it's already starting to take on that color, which is what we want. You can smell that caramelized sugar. So what I'm gonna do now is gonna make a little hole in the middle. Yes, because you know you're always asking, so finally, you know, there's roucou that you can get across US and Canada. So be sure to check this out. Right. In addition to the roucou, we're going in with all of our fresh ingredients, some garlic, some sprigs of fine thyme, a fresh bay leaf, which I'm just breaking up to help release its flavor, some diced onion and hot pepper. Of course, if you're not a pepper fan, you can leave that one out. Some tomato paste. This will help to thicken your lentil peas and give it color. Because for this one, we want to thicken this as naturally as possible. Then we're going in with some dried ingredients, some pimento flakes. Of course, if you have the fresh one, by all means, you could use that. You know, a lot of y'all do have access to fresh shadow benny. Well, here we have somebody right in Trinidad and Tobago making dried shadow benny or cilantro. Some dried thyme with a little hint of lime. Same company right here in Trinidad and Tobago making the dried cilantro is making this product. Excellent product. Right, so we're just gonna give that a stir. Right, let me just scrape the sides. Again, I'm gonna cover. It's on low heat and I'm just gonna let this continue to come together. Allow the peas to release its natural moisture. The onion will also do the same now. before we rush to add any liquids to the peas. So we're just going to give this no more than 5 minutes to do its thing. Just give it a turn to show you. So you see it's still not sticking because again there's a lot of moisture in here. So once you're regulating your temperature on your stove, ideally I set low, you should be good. What we're going to do now is add the water. Just going to give it a stir. I'm raising my heat to high because I want to bring it to a boil, and as soon as it's boiling I'm going to reduce it to a simmer and let that simmer for 20 minutes before we season and add our oats. Alright, so you see our peas is boiling up here. What we want to do now is drop the heat down to low. I'll just give it a stir to show you all the consistency, and allowing it to simmer for that 20 minutes will let our peas thicken up a bit. Scrape the sides. Right, I'm going to cover it again and let it continue. Alright, so we at about the 20-minute mark here, so let's just check it. Alright, so as you can see our peas has opened up. Take out some to show you. See the peas opened up, fully cooked, with some salt and some black pepper. Give that a mix and add some freshly cut chive just to take full advantage of its aroma. Now for the last part, we added in the oats. And remember the heat is off, our cooking is finished. So we're going to mix this in. What will happen is the oats will absorb all the liquid within these stew peas here and help to thicken up our peas. Cover it and allow the oats to bloom and absorb the liquid, and while that's happening we'll preheat the oven at 350 degrees to bake our loaf. Time to check our loaf. Alright, so we're going to transfer it to our baking loaf. Now this is a greased 8-inch by 4-inch by 3.5 inches tall baking loaf. In the center, we'll rack, and we're gonna let this bake off for about 30 minutes or so until it's come together. Alright, so the half an hour is up, so let's check our meatloaf. If I can let it come in, you can see it's starting to pull away from the sides. That's also a good sign. That shows that your loaf has binded somewhat. Hopefully it's binded all the way through. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna place it on a wire rack and let it cool. You want to let this cool, come down to at least room temperature before you slice. Alright, y'all, so our meatloaf has cooled. So let me just ask for it to come in so I could show it to you all before we turn it over. So as you can see, it's fully cooled, and if you can zoom in around the edges, you can see that it's pulled in or separated itself more or less from the edges. So what I'm going to do now before I flip it over on our board, I'm just going to release it from the edges, flip it over, there you go. Just a little bit just stayed in the center, so the center is still a little soft, but that's alright. Alright, so let's slice now. Lovely. Always best to clean your blade before you slice. And there you go. Let me see if I could spread it out for you all to see. Still holding together very well. Let me get a fork, we could taste one time. This one. Let's taste it now. The trick with this is you almost want to over flavor it to compensate for the oats, because the oats, in addition to absorbing the moisture, is going to absorb a lot of the flavor. So you have to compensate and factor that in when seasoning and adding flavorings. Oh yeah, but this is right on point. So again, you could use egg to help keep it together, but I chose not to do that, you know, so we could keep it without any animal products. But of course, if you want to use egg, you could go right ahead and do that. Yeah. So we're just gonna continue to slice up, finish up. Thanks so much for your help. Bye.